And I just have to make sure that the YouTube feed is not echoing back. Okay. All right. I think we are good to go. As people are still joining. So people are still joining, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I want to welcome everyone this evening. Thank you for joining us it feels like the deep fall evening. For those of us who don't know us, for those who are just joining who don't know us, I wanted to let you know that the Foundation for Mind Being Research was founded in 1980 by scientists and healers and artists who are interested in the nature of human consciousness. And so for the past almost 44 years now, in January, it'll be 44 years, we've been kind of a forum for people who are exploring the nature of reality to present their work. And this has included physicists and shamans and alternative healers and psychologists, really anyone who's open to expanding the context within which we see ourselves and the world. Once the pandemic hit, we took everything online. And so we've had just wonderful people be able to join us to talk about their work. And you can find everything that we've done. We can find us at fmbr.org. And you can find all of our past recordings and presentations on YouTube if you just search FMBR TV. So you can check us out and you can subscribe there. So we're really, really excited this evening to welcome Gale West to talk to us. Gale is an international speaker, a workshop leader, and a transformational coach. She's been consulting and teaching in the Akashic Records for the past 25 years. The Akashic Records, for those who don't know, are also known as the A field, is a powerful access tool for information in the seen and unseen worlds. She likes to tell her students it's the Google of the universe. So she has taught business at Fuzhou University in China and at Columbia College in Chicago. She's had a successful practice as a psychotherapist and has studied with shamans in the Maya, Quechua, Koji, and Ifa traditions. She's the author of the international bestseller, Money, Come Dance With Me, which she describes as a call to live in the joy and delight of dancing with money as a loving guide and friend, which I absolutely love. Gale, thank you for being here. Welcome. And thank you for bringing this work, which I think is so inspiring and kind of a challenge to our paradigm, right?
Yes.
It's an invitation. It's an invitation for us to really change our relationship, to look at and change our relationship with money. So, yeah, welcome.
Thank you. So I'm going to share my screen in a minute. And I've got to hold on. I'm going to put this slideshow up. Okay. So welcome to the are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to the Modern Mystics New Manifesto, Money, Meaning, and the Power of the Collective. I'm really excited about this. Is I did this same talk at a keynote for the American Society of Dowsers in June. Obviously, it was live, so I kind of moved things around for being on Zoom, but it's really a passion for me to help people heal and help the world heal their relationship to money. So I'm going to start with a quote from my book. Money is one of our greatest spiritual teachers. It shows us clearly who we are, our beliefs, and what we allow into our lives. And thinking about it, money is probably one of the most intimate relationships we'll ever have. And when we think about that, we don't think about it as it is a relationship. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. So, but first, what I like to do is I don't want to be, I hate doing being on webinars where it's just a talking head. So we're going to do, I'll do a little talking head. I'll have you guys do some stuff, but I'm going to start. I want to make sure that something happens. So if that we know that there has been some sort of a shift. So we're going to do a little dowsing if you can. I don't know how people dowse, but I have a pendulum. And if you don't know how to dowse, just come up with the number. So what you're going to do is, if you can dowse your alignment with the divine essence of money on a 1 to 10 scale, where money, where 1 is low and 10 is high. And if you don't know how to dowse, just kind of tune in and just, is there a number that comes up? And the idea of alignment is how well am I feeling into this alignment with the divine essence of money? And the next thing is to dowse your alignment with joyous, wealthy well-being on a 1 to 10 scale. And just kind of feeling into, is there a number that comes up? And then dowse how open you are to receiving all the good that life has to offer on a 1 to 10 scale. And I'm curious. And then I know I've talked to Judy about the Hawkins scale, and that a lot of people have introduced the Hawkins scale. David Hawkins was a doctor who really worked on the idea of power versus force. And the old paradigm is forceful one, and the new paradigm is one that is one of power, really being empowered. And he had this scale of frequency that was below 200 was where people really didn't take responsibility for themselves. And when you hit that edge of courage, there's 2 tipping points. One is courage and the other one is love. So courage is a tipping point where you can actually shift your paradigm to something higher than these other energies like pride or guilt or shame or whatever. So we're going to dowse the frequency of money on the Hawkins scale. And I'm going to see if it shifts after our talk. Hopefully it'll shift. So my idea is that I want the frequency of money overall to shift. So if you don't have a pendulum, just, is there a number that comes up? And then I'm going to ask people to put what they get in the chat, so we have some documentation of that.
Can I just clarify, Gale? We're dowsing right now for the frequency of money.
Right.
Not our personal relationship.
No, not your personal relationship to money.
Thank you.
Because I'm all about healing individually, but healing on the collective. So people got it? Has everybody got it? Are we good? So just put what you have in this in the chat. Now, we started about the idea of the modern mystic's new manifesto. And in the olden days, I love this picture. In the olden days, the idea of the mystic was, often some monastery or a convent, and and praying, and not really connecting to the world. That's what we think of as a mystic. Many times, most of us think mystics are those special people. But when I was researching for this talk, I came up with it. Dictionary.com. It's on, it has to be true if it's dictionary.com. And what is a mystic? A person who claims to attain or believes in the possibility of attaining insights into mysteries transcending normal, ordinary human conscious knowledge, as by direct communication with the divine or immediate intuition in the state of spiritual ecstasy. So I want to have a conjecture that every single person who is a part of FMBR believes in the possibility of attaining insights into the mysteries transcending ordinary human consciousness. So we are all mystics. I'm just going to name that so we can, as our container, as mystics, we're going to walk through this together, which I love. Okay. So as Judy was talking about, I've been working the Akashic Records for, it's like one of the many things in my toolbox, for over 25 years. And it's a Sanskrit word that means boundless space. All of creation is made up of Akasha. And it's a kind of an all-encompassing medium that underlies all things and becomes all things. So I love this quote from, I love this picture of the library. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Edgar Cayce. He was a trance channel, and he was one of the first people in the Western world that really worked in the Akashic Records. And he, interestingly enough, he was very Christian. So for him, it was really difficult to have all the information coming out, that idea of past lives, but he still would go into trance. And he saw the Akashic Records as this library, this huge library. So what a lot of people think of when they think of the Akashic Records, they think of this massive library, but I don't see it that way. So according to Erwin Laszlo, who's a two-time Nobel Prize winner, nominated, and has worked a lot in the A field, the Akashic Records, beyond the puzzle field light world of mainstream science, a new concept of the universe is emerging. The established concept is transcended. In its place becomes the informed universe, rooted in the rediscovery of ancient traditions, Akashic field, as a vacuum-based holofield. In the informed universe, the A field is a fundamental element. Thanks to the information conserved and conveyed by the A field, the universe is of a mind-boggling coherence, for all things are connected, and the memory of all things extends to all places and all times. That's a lot to take in. So my idea of the Akashic Records, I think of it as this universe that is compiled of it's undulating, it's colors, it's got light, there's this undulation that is the soup of the universe, basically. It has no past, present, or future. Everything is all one. So another thing that Erwin Laszlo said is consciousness is present in the mineral kingdom, in the living world, and in social and ecological systems constituted by human beings. So the idea that in the Akashic Records, there is consciousness in everything, and the idea that everything has a consciousness. If we look at an economic system, is a system that's created by human beings. Thus, it has a consciousness. So why money? Why would I work with money? That's a really good question, because in the beginning, I'm thinking that's not my thing. So I'm not the money person, but somehow I've become the person who talks to money. But I come back from China, and I was working on getting certified to teach. And my plan was actually to go back to China to have people reconnect to their own ancient wisdom, which was pretty much ripped out of their consciousness. Obviously, that didn't happen. But I started working in my work back then. It was 2009, 2010, 2011, that whole time during the economic crisis, where people were losing their homes, people were out on the streets. There was a lot of fear, and I kept hearing work in the records of businesses. And I reached out to my mentor. I said, I keep hearing this, and she says, well, you've got to do that. I said, well, do businesses have records? She goes, everything has records. And I realized that at the time, a lot of I would reach out to a lot of the people and say, can I open the records of your business and the records of your soul and see how they're aligned? And businesses started talking to me, and the business were frustrated. They wanted to grow, as businesses should. And I started thinking and realizing a lot of them had issues with money. And I thought, well, there's a lot of stuff going on around in the world around money. I've had my own issues around money. I wonder if money has a consciousness. So one day, I opened the records of money, and this is my first communication. I got to read this. It's so funny. It's not really funny, but anyway, this is what I heard. I said, "Dear money, how do you grow? You got to start somewhere. By investing in stocks, bonds, companies, and yourself. In many ways, I grow exponentially. I expand to meet the needs of people, society, and culture. If I am considered bad, I will be used in ways that is not in alignment with society's highest and best. Consider Costa Rica. This is an example of a country that is not living in fear or lack. It has no need to expend money to maintain an army. It is a country that utilizes its beauty, climate, natural resources, and sunshine for good. As a result, it is an expansive place to be and a force field for growth." And many went on to say, unfortunately, America is expanding into a country of haves and have-not. It has become a nation that is divisive, secretive, and fear-based. Even though its principles are based on freedom, people do not feel freedom from fear, anger, and inequality. It is wrong to think I do not have a consciousness. I do. I am more than just energy transferred. I want to grow. I want to flow. I want to be an agent for good. That was the beginning of my communication with money. And thinking about it, so many of us say, oh, money is just energy, or money is just, honestly, one of the things I say is, can we hate energy? Is energy the root of all evil? I don't think so. We have a relationship with money, whether we like it or not. And most people have a pretty dysfunctional relationship to money. So if we think about Costa Rica, and I love this picture, and it's Welcome to Paradise. And I thought one day, as I was pondering the whole idea of monetary exchanges, and the fact that a lot of times, one of the reasons why there's so much life in cities is because there's all this monetary exchange. There's all this exchange that's happening at the same time. So I was sitting in my special chair one morning and meditating and pondering the idea that everything in my home was there as a result of a monetary exchange. So I think about currents and currency. There's a currency that happens. And I thought about the very nails in the wall were there because of a monetary exchange. And I wondered how many of those monetary exchanges were good ones, were happy ones, were ones where money, the exchange was a happy one. And it's an interesting thing to ponder when you think about everything is there, except for, our being is there because of a monetary exchange. And one day I was talking to money, and money said, the predominant matrix of humanity has been domination, greed, and I have been aligned with that. The new matrix of humanity is collaboration and generosity. I want to be aligned with that. Can you please help me? And I've read this quote so many times, and it still brings tears to my eyes, because when you think about it, we have, there's a couple of things that are really important about this. One is, if you walk a spiritual path, why would you want to be aligned with something that's aligned with domination and greed? No. Money has been aligned, but this is not money's fault. And when we think about the fact that there is this old paradigm that that is the paradigm of the dominant matrix of humanity, domination and greed, but money's got a pulse on what the new matrix of humanity is, and it's collaboration and generosity. That to me is so profound. And we think about the idea that when we're collaborative and generous, that and recognizing that all of creation is in this collaborative soup is really powerful. And that is where we're going. And so that, I love this. So the story in my book, I tell about how I was camping with some friends one day, and it was in the night, and I asked my friend if I could borrow his flashlight to go to the outhouse. And I'm in the outhouse, and unfortunately, I went to grab the flashlight, and it fell down into the hole, and it was illuminated. And I thought, oh my God, I'm not reaching down there. And so I walked back, and the thing was illuminating. People weren't sure about going in there. Well, the next day it was still illuminated. The light was still shining, but it was, one could imagine what was down there on the poor light. This is kind of the way it is with money. Money is like this thing, this consciousness that is wants to be an agent for good, wants to be part of this new paradigm of collaboration and generosity, and yet, if we think about it, the shadow, it's money itself is very heavy with the shadow and pain of the human race. And as I was preparing my keynote, I was thinking about the fact that, so if we think about that everything has an overarching deva. So for example, there's an overarching deva of corn, but wherever you are, as far as what region you live in or your area of planting, that's got its own overarching deva. So every currency in the world has its own cultural and collective trauma. So think about the difference between the Deutschmark and the euro. A lot of trauma. And then the euro being collectively a new currency doesn't have the same amount of trauma as the other currency does. So if we think about overarching deva of money, the overarching deva of money is this really high energy, high vibration, as opposed to the current or individual currencies of money. So the idea is, as long as we hold money as bad or evil, we keep it imprisoned. So this is a really important concept to think about, that we as mystics, and I'm going to say we are all mystics here, we as mystics, really, really important to recognize that our thoughts, the way we hold stuff, is really, really powerful. We are more powerful than we can imagine. And that as we hold money as bad or evil, we keep it hostage. We keep it hostage in that whole paradigm, and that old paradigm of domination and greed. And so that's why I'm very passionate about doing this work, because there is so much trauma in the field, and my passion is to heal trauma in the field, to create a world where all can thrive. So the frequency of the divine essence of money is high, and it's connected to divine source. So when I had you douse the frequency of money, that frequency of money has got a whole lot of trauma that's still stuck on it. Or the frequency of the divine essence of money is very, very high. And this is an image that I saw, that a painting that I created. So I was on my way, I was on a plane, I was on my way to do a retreat in Austin, Texas. And I usually open the records before I do a retreat, and just kind of feel into the audience and what it wants. And I saw this incredible being of light. And it was like, and it had like this gold that was moving. And as it moved, the light, just this gold flecks moved all around. So this is what I kind of imagined, that it's hard to paint something that is like gold and light and whatever, but this is the best that I could do, the divine essence of money. So if money could be its pure potential, it would be the expression of divine love in the marketplace. So what does that mean? I truly believe that when we bring our gifts to the world, it's an act of love. bringing your gifts to the world is an incredible act of self-love, but it's also making love to the world. So when we bring our gifts to the marketplace, when we bring our gifts to the world, it allows then money to be an expression of divine love. The love that we bring to the world then gets translated to money. So feeling into that, when we become conscious co-creators with the divine and with money, we become those practical mystics that aren't hanging out in the monasteries, but we're here fully embraced in the physical world and in life. And so thinking about that, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Jacob Needleman. Was an amazing philosopher. He wrote Money and the Meaning of Life, and it's really an amazing book. So he talks about how there was always this sense that money was the intersection of the heaven and earth, that place where the divine and source met, so that people could be cared for, taken care of. And somebody was asking me, well, are we gonna get rid of money? Are we gonna? And I'm like, no, because when we have we want to have this is going to be a global culture. It's more and more and more we're recognizing that we are global, that we are connected all around the world, that when one thing happens over here, it affects this. So you can't go back to, I'm going to change my chicken for a loaf of bread. Money, however it is, whether it's money that is cryptocurrency but it doesn't matter. It does still have an energy, and we will always have money. So if we think about money as that intersection point between heaven and earth, and that I was in, where was it? Istanbul, and I went to a money museum, and there were always all the coins would have some sort of some spiritual image on the top, and then what the monetary was on the bottom. So there was a sense of that. And actually the first money was about paying money to the temple. So that was cowrie shells. So, okay. So if we think about being conscious co-creators with the divine and money, then interestingly enough, the word wealth, the origin of the word wealth is well-being. And so I started thinking about the word wealth and well-being, and I dowsed. The word wealthy is quite low on the Hawkins scale. Remember, I'm going to go back to the Hawkins scale. That it was below 7 to 200, so it's not so high. So it's around a little bit below pride. And if you think about it, words have a lot of power to them, and they can have a lot of energy that's been stuck on them. So our perception of wealth is not, for many people, isn't also great. So, but the word joyous is very high, it's 561. The word well-being is even higher. So when you put all of them together, it's even higher, and that's 656. So I'm going to go here, and that is way, way up there, higher than peace, and it's almost up to enlightenment. So if we think about bringing all of those words together and calling on joyous, wealthy well-being, that in and of itself has a very, very high vibration. So I'm going to take a moment and just, I've been chatting a lot, and I don't like chatting so much. So I'm going to stop share. So Judy, do people have the opportunity to ask questions, to see if anybody has a question before we move on, or comment?
Yes. So if you have a question and you want to speak, you can raise, there's a little thing at the bottom. You can raise your hand, or you can put in the chat that you'd like to ask a question. And I can unmute people and they can speak. Or sometimes people get a little shy,
Okay.
and we'll type questions into the chat.
Put a question in the chat.
Yeah, as well. So you're open to getting questions at any time instead of just at the end?
Yeah, if you think it's really important, then ask me.
Yeah. So if you have any questions,
it's collaborative. Hello.
Exactly. So if you have any questions, you can raise your hand or just type it in the chat. So we will make sure people know that.
Okay, so this is a graphic that I was going to have in my book. When you write books, things come in and then things go out, and things come in and then they go out. This one actually went out, but I'm bringing it back in. And it's the triangle of joyous, wealthy, well-being. And the idea is that when we really have to connect into that idea of co-creating with money and the divine, there's a piece here which is the healing. So if we look at the base of the triangle, it's healing and then aligning. And I'm going to talk about the transceiver and what that's about. It's about sending and receiving, and then being able to express into the marketplace with your gifts. So a lot of the stories that we hold, the stories of the collective are really huge, and stories of our ancestors, story of our childhood. And one of the things that I was at an interview with Megan Wagner, who I love, who's kind of a mystic in and of herself. She was talking about how all of these things that are kind of put upon us are actually thought forms. They're collective thought forms, ancestral thought forms. We in internal family systems, which is a therapeutic model I'm trained in, they're called legacy burdens. So if you think about the legacy burden which is really big, of the depression. This is such a depressing picture, but that was huge at the time, way, way, way back when people were, and it lasted for 10 long years. And the only thing that changed it is World War II. So that is in the field. And so my feeling is that really is what got triggered in 2009, that the whole energy and if we think about the stock market, is really run by fear. That when the jobs report comes out, whether it's good or bad, all that stuff shifts. And it actually oftentimes has nothing to do with reality. So the idea that we are all in this collective soup together is one of the things. So a lot of people have personally, ancestrally, have trauma around the depression. People in Europe and other places have trauma around wars. Genocide. So there's a lot of collective trauma and individual trauma. So a lot of our attitudes and beliefs about money often come from somewhere else. So, and since everything is connected, when healing the one, healing ourselves sends healing to the all, and healing all sends healing to the one. So, because my thing is I'm really passionate about healing trauma in the collective. When we have to do our personal work, but also we have to really understand that when I think about money, it has a lot of trauma. There's a lot of trauma, money trauma in the field that a lot of us are dealing with and struggling with. And then this is kind of fascinating. One day I heard from money, you must become aware of your transceiver. All of creation is constantly sending and receiving. But most humans are not conscious that they create their lives in each moment by what they are sending and what they are able to receive. You must become aware of what you are sending and receiving. This is the key to true power. Interestingly enough, I had never heard the word transceiver. So I thought it was this cool word that money had made up, that, from the universe or whatever. And when I met my now current husband, he said, "Oh, transceiver is a thing." It's a ham radio word. Hello. And so when you send something, if you're not receiving on the same channel as the people where you're sending, the signals gets mixed up. So what are you able to receive and what you're able to send makes a really big difference. So if we think about the idea of sending and receiving, that is key, because most people have a lot of issues around having clarity in their sending and their ability to receive. I've found in my work that more people are feel more comfortable with constriction than expansion, because that whole kind of thing, that collective saying, don't be too happy or the other shoe will drop, is really big. A lot of people have a lot of issues around shoe dropping. So this is something that came to me. And one day I've done something called guided imagery music, where you lay back and play music, and I have visions, which is kind of cool. And one day this happened to me. I had a vision of where I was standing on a high hill looking down on a small village with narrow streets, brightly colored houses, and in the distance, the blue Mediterranean Sea. Beside me was a large being dressed in beautiful robes. He swept his arm across the scene, saying, "Look at the garden of earthly delights. Look, these are the gifts of the divine, for human, for all of creation. The beauty of the colors, the green grass and flowers, the air, the water, the sun, the ingenuity of humans to build roads and homes. All these gifts are from the divine. Why can't they take it in? It's simple. There's no need to hold, to grab for stuff, no need for greed or taking. These gifts are to share. To share in the gifts will multiply. Oh, if only they knew how loved they are, there would be no greed or trauma. They would know the joy of delight, the joy that radiates in the soul. They would know the gifts of the divine. They would fully embrace the garden of earthly delights, the taste, the smells, the touch, the sounds. These are the gifts of the human experience. Receive, be open to receiving." And in my work with money kept saying, "Your receiving channels are really muddy. Your receiving channels are really muddy." And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So one day, I figured out what money was talking about, and I was coming off of the L. I used to live in Chicago, so I was coming off the L, and I was going from one meeting to the next, and I was really hungry, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to eat while I was going to this other meeting. And right there was a table laden with food, and people behind it, and they were offering food to people. And they have big bowls, big pot of soup and bread and whatever. And so I'm looking and I'm going, and so this woman's going, "Would you like some soup?" And I'm like, "Who are you?" And it was a Food Not Bombs people. She goes, "We're here every Sunday. We hand out food, and this is our mission." So I said, "Oh, okay." So I had some soup. It was really good, and it was warm, and the day was cold. She handed me some bread, and I handed her back the bowl, and she said, "Would you like some more?" And I said, "No, that's okay." And I turned around, and in that moment, I realized I was still hungry. And I'm going, "Oh, this is what money's talking about." I grew up the second oldest of 11, and there was always this thing about sharing. And I was always really good about not taking more than my share. And in that moment, I realized what money was talking about was my share was really small. What I thought was available to me was really small, and that it affected everything I allowed in my life. So when we think about the idea of sending and receiving what you are willing to receive, opening and receiving channels is the biggest key here. What am I willing to allow into my life? Because that'll make the difference. When our receiving channels are open and desire is conscious, we are not locked in limitation. We have a full palette of possibility from which to choose. So I asked Money, how do I connect with my own transceiver? And Money said, you can visualize it in your heart being, expand its light out as an attractive field, force field. Part of its function is to attract goodness and lightness of being, ease, flow, and grace. So I was thinking about the idea of heart's delight and soul's delight as an access tool. Heart's delight is an access tool to connecting to the divine. This is I like creating graphics and symbols, and this is the symbol I came up with. So I one of the things that I do is I also work in radionics and create reagents that have energetic patterns, have the frequency of something. So what I'm holding, I don't know how to change that. Stop video. I'm going to unblur myself so you can see this. Okay. This is a crystal rod, and in it is the energetic pattern of heart's delight. And we receive with our left hand and send with our right hand. So what I'm going to do for all of you, and I've done this all over the world and through Zoom too, I'm sending heart's delight to every single one of you. And we're going to bring it into our heart being and let it expand into our field, our energy field. So it is in my right hand. So I'm going to ask you to imagine, you can just if you're driving, please do not close your eyes. That's not a good thing. But if you can, just close your eyes, open your left hand, and just be willing to receive this energy of heart's delight. And when you feel that you've received it, just bring your hand up into your heart and just breathe that energy into your heart. And imagine that it's expanding up from your heart into your torso, into your whole being. So this energy of heart's delight is lighting up your body and going to the very cells of your being. It is our birthright to live in love, joy, and delight, and the birthright of all creation. And invite heart's delight to be the portal to soul's delight. And just invite yourself to be willing to receive all the good that life has to offer, to live in the expansive energy, joy, and delight. And know that now that you have this reagent, it is there with you. You can call it anytime you want. Could people feel it?
So go ahead and put something in the chat if you want to answer that question, or you can raise your hand. I felt it. Mary says she felt it.
Cool.
Gail, can you describe the image that you came up with? What
So
what
to me, it's the image is the heart, and the heart's delight is kind of if I think about the image, the line that comes down from the bottom, from the top, that is our connection to our soul's path. That is separate. Heart's delight, I've found actually in my work that heart's delight and soul's delight are two different things. But most of us who walk the spiritual path are really connected to our soul path, and not being able to. We don't think about it. We need to walk that path with where our heart is in joy and delight. So when we're walking just sacrificing yourself for your path, that's the old paradigm. The new paradigm is really recognizing that when we're walking our path with joy and delight, that's what the divine wants for us. So I look at the top line that's coming down, and it's got the little squirrel, and then the bottom line that's coming up has this little squirrel, and that intersection point is where they meet and they communicate with one another. Does that make sense? Yeah, and then the little yellow lines around that is that kind of beating of the heart that goes out into the attractor field. Mm. So the more that we're aligned with this energy, the more we bring that into our being. And that, so when she was talking about, how do I do this? Oh, going back. How do I connect with my transceiver, expand its light out as an attractor force field? That is what we're talking about, is that it expands out.
Yeah, we had a question earlier about in the Q&A about how to apply all of this, and I assumed you were going to get to it. And this seems like this is the applied work.
This is the key. Yeah, we're going to get to the applied.
Okay.
Waiting for time. Oh, we're doing good. Okay, so I want to say a word about abundance. How many people ask for abundance and pray for abundance? Hello. And how many people would go to a restaurant and say, just give me a lot of everything that you have? Mm. No. Your waiter or waitress would say, excuse me, ma'am, or Mr., what do you want? So we have to be really clear. The universe loves clarity. So when we think about going back to this idea of the transceiver, become aware of what you're sending and receiving, that they create their lives and but what they're sending and they're receiving. When you say abundance, or usually most of people say abundance is because they're afraid to ask for what they really want. So if I talk about being practical, ask for what you really want, and really start being open to receiving, making choices based on that. That's one of the places of practicality. Because if we think about this, this is the key to true power. And we're going back to this idea of power versus force, that in the old paradigm, we did use force to get what we want. In the new paradigm, and what we're moving towards, is being in that place of really understanding our key to true power, being very aware of what we're sending and receiving. And so when we think about money from a place of, it's the root of all evil and blah, 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 we're holding money hostage in that old paradigm. our thoughts are really incredibly powerful. So I'm going back to, and when healing has happened, old outdated beliefs have been cleared, alignment with heart and soul desire, delight is balanced, money can flow like a river, it wants to be your friend. So this is a prayer, you can say it with me, that is from the records. It's also in my book, for people who are really wanting to connect into how they're being called. And I'm just going to read it. I ask now that my mind, body, and spirit be aligned for my talents and gifts to coalesce into their perfect divine expression in the marketplace. Let me step forward with confidence, ease, and grace. May my magnificence shine brightly as a star, illuminating the way for those I'm called to serve. This is key. May I flourish in all ways, financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually, as I open my heart to receive in joyous delight all the good that life has to offer. Okay. So now this is the collective power, owning, claiming, and expressing our power as mystics to create change. So we're going to do some healing of money and helping money to be released from this trauma space. So when we think about the old idea of the mystic over here and over here and over here, there's a lot of power in mysticism and from that paradigm. But when we recognize that alone we're one star and together we're a constellation, so how are we going to shift things? So I don't know how many people can see this. I'm going to go back to that. This is something that I found, and it's a graphic that I created that I found that I'd created like in 2014 when I first started working with money. The love of God desires its manifestation on earth through the force field of love of money. And that kind of moves down and is fueled by passion and desire. We were talking about desire held in the arms of the divine mother. That energy of the mother is the one that's the gestating power. And then that love is connecting the force field. That's that love energy that radiates out and then allows for the love of God to be manifested through me. And so we're going to do a little bit of forgiveness, helping to forgive, allowing money to have a healing. And so welcoming money to be its true expression is the divine love in the marketplace. So I'm going to do a little meditation for us. So I'm going to ask you to just close your eyes if you can, or and just feeling into allowing yourself to let go of any tension and bringing in relaxation. And take a deep breath and exhale. Let the tension in your body move out with your breath. Take another deep breath and imagine a big wave of relaxation moving over your whole body. Now feel the clothing you're wearing against your skin. Imagine all the people who helped to make these clothes. The designer, those who worked in the factory that made the cloth, dyed the cloth, cut it, sewed it, packed it, transported it, displayed it, sold it. All of these people brought their divinity to the marketplace. Thank money and all the people that your money touched so that you could be wearing the clothes on your body. Imagine your home. Many people brought their divinity to the marketplace to allow you to have a home for yourself and those who share it with you. the builder, the carpenter, those that cut the wood, transported the wood, the tiles in your bathroom, the numerous fixtures in your home. Thank money and all the people your money touched. Now imagine looking around your home at the things you love that make your home comfortable and beautiful. Many people brought their divinity to the marketplace to create these things. Thank money and all the people your money touched. Now take a moment and think about any way that you might have blamed money or thought of money as bad or locked in that old paradigm. Any way that you didn't respect or care for it. And just feeling into the fact that money is holding so much of the shadow of our human race. And thinking of money and doing the Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And now, on behalf of humanity, as healers, as mystics, calling on the divine energy, the helpers and beings who want to help the human race, we're sorry. Please forgive us. Thank you. We love you. We're sorry. Please forgive us. Thank you. We love you. And imagine standing under a waterfall of light in whatever color or colors that would be healing and cleansing. Clearing any negative feelings that you might have around money or holding money in your relationship to money. Any feelings that on behalf of the collective, asking for healing. And imagine that that light is turning a beautiful gold, and that you are being infused with golden light. Invite money to join you. And imagining that this golden light is helping money to wash away all the pain, suffering, sorrow that has been projected upon it, so it can be freed to be an agent for good. So it can be an agent for divine love in the marketplace. And again, on behalf of humanity, we're sorry. Please forgive us. Thank you. We love you. And I truly believe each one of us has a personal connection with money. That be a money guide, a money angel. But ask money to walk with you as an agent of divine love in the marketplace. To be a loving guide and friend. To be able to live your life with ease and joy, collaboration and generosity. Knowing that as we heal ourselves, we heal the collective. As we send healing to the collective, we heal ourselves. And knowing that in the asking it is received, we give thanks. And so it is. Just allowing yourself to come back. So, what is the modern mystic's new manifesto? Judy, can you say it with me? And let's ask the people. Can you unmute people so we can all say it together?
I actually can't unmute people unless they.
Okay, so you and I will say it together, and people can say it themselves. Okay.
On behalf of everyone.
On behalf of everyone.
And if everyone will say it with us in your own space, that would be great.
Okay. I celebrate and embrace
all the good
that life has to offer
as a gift from the divine.
I connect
my heart's delight
as a portal to my soul's delight. I bless money
as an agent
for good
and an expression
of divine love in the marketplace.
Joyous,
wealthy well-being is my birthright and the birthright of all. Together, we create a world of collaboration and generosity where all can thrive. And so we're going to try to douse the frequency of money and see if anything changed. This is where
I would say, Jerry, I'm going to call on you about your dowsing. So get ready. So all the dowsers out there, douse the frequency of money and then put it in the chat or raise your hand and you can unmute. Do you have your pendulum? Mark says 1021.
Whoa. Well, Mark, what was it before?
He had put so 12, 12, 8, and 900. I think those were the answers to the personal questions as well. That's interesting. If people are getting like 1,000, just imagine if the frequency of money hung out at the level of enlightenment. The frequency of enlightenment. What would that?
Yeah. So
manifest.
Yeah, my intention for my book was that its energy would be so high, the frequency would be so high that just having it, just whether anybody bought it or not, it didn't matter. That it would shift. That it was, since it was on the internet, it would shift the paradigm of money. And actually, in the beginning, it was 900, and I put it on a flash drive, the text on a flash drive, and put it in the radionics machine. And we radiated with Ho'oponopono, love to the 20th power, blessings, forgiveness, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And now the more people that read it, the higher the energy is. So it's well over 1,000.
Right, because you talked about being collaborative, right, and co-creative.
Right.
That's the mechanism for doing that. How wonderful. Jerry said he went from 200 to 800.
That is a huge shift.
Yeah, considering 200 is right around that pride and courage.
Right.
And 800 is is just above peace on the scale.
Yeah. So what we're doing here is, the more that we put these energies in the field, it actually does shift the energy of money. So when we recognize that just one person is powerful, but when we do it on a collective scale, it's really, really powerful. So we have done what we did today in this time together, 1 hour or so. We have actually shifted the frequency of money in the collective. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's super, because it becomes a feedback loop, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
You're changing the baseline.
Yep. And so now for you personally, doused your alignment with the divine essence of money on a scale of 1 to 10. Let's hope it went up if it was low. Should be joyous, wealthy, well-being. So sorry. Just not instead of wealth, joyous, wealthy, well-being on a 1 to 10. And how open are you receiving all the good that life has to offer? And I'm hoping that things have shifted for people.
It's interesting. When I first did this, my alignment with the divine essence of money was fairly low, and the other two were fairly high. And I thought, interesting, what does that say about my belief about the around the word money,
Mm-hmm.
right? That heaviness that it carries.
Right. And what is it now?
So it went from a 3 to an 8.
Yeah. So that's a big shift.
And I really also liked the distinction you made around abundance. I remember, way back in the day when we were all talking, like 30 years ago, we were all talking about abundance, and everybody's talking in, new age circles about abundance. And I love your definition of like just going in and saying, give me a lot of everything you have. That's not helpful. And I really struggled with that at the time, because I thought, okay, if you're going to ask for abundance, how do you know when it shows up?
Right.
If you don't know what exactly it is you're looking for? I mean, do you just get this kind of windfall of $100 million? So I really kind of worked at defining what it meant for me. And of course, it's not what it means for anybody else. So the
Words have a lot of power. We don't realize how much power they have. Yeah.
exactly.
And it's interesting because the key on that one is way back when I was first working with money. I had a couple of friends of mine who worked in the records, and we'd open the records of money. And so one day my friend was going, "Oh, I just opened the records of abundance." And I like opened the records, and I said, "It's really weird. It's this weird amorphous kind of thing that is kind of moving around. It had no structure. It was kind of like a little amoeba." I thought, well, no wonder, abundance and people praying. So I had a client who was going, "I'm praying for abundance and nothing's changing." I said, "Well, ask for what you want."
Yeah.
How's God going to know what you want, or it's a spirit, or source or whatever, if you don't ask?
Exactly. And at the time, 30 years ago, I decided, what would really be abundance for me would be to be able to do the things I wanted to do without having to kind of stress about them. And I was thinking specifically about like workshops and retreats, and if this retreat is $350, am I going to go, oh God, I can't really afford it. So I wanted that ease of being able to go and just, to travel, to learn, and to go on retreat and stuff like that. And that was really specific for me.
Yeah. So it's key. So you shifted abundance to what you really wanted.
Yeah.
So this is one of my favorite quotes. "We must remember this is not a bad world, but a good world in the process of becoming." And what you did today together is we shifted the paradigm of money, and we helped to heal the planet from trauma.
Pretty successful day.
Where all can thrive. Yeah. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
So this is my book, Money Come Dance With Me. And this is how you can get a hold of me. successwithsoul.com and Gale at Success with Soul.
And because you do individual readings and consultations and things.
I do. Yeah.
Good. So let's keep that up there for a minute so people can get a hold of you. I have an anonymous question here. In receiving, what if someone else has dark energy? What are tips to navigate the not receiving or the transforming? So I'm not sure exactly I'm not sure exactly what that means. If someone
Well, this is about you're not receiving their dark energy. This is about how well, whatever it is you put out that you're willing to receive is what you're going to get. And so if you're willing to receive, so that's I wasn't going to put the soup story in. So just before we talked, I put the soup story back in, because that's really kind of looking at it from that perspective. My idea, what was my share, even though I'm not home, I'm like, they're off and doing their thing. But in my mind, I was still at home worrying about whether or not I was going to take more than my share. And the idea that because when money kept saying, open your receiving channels, I really didn't understand what money was talking about until that moment. And I really could understand, oh, and I saw my life looking from above and going, oh my God. Yeah. Now I
Oh, you
get it.
see those
Yeah.
receiving channels being really muddy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really good.
Yeah.
I remember, it's so interesting to examine the beliefs we hold around money that are unconscious,
Yeah.
right? That we just hold. And I think way back, I was listening to Anthony Robbins talking about this, and he said, you really need, what do you think of rich people? When you think of rich people, what do you think? And it's, oh my God, they're greedy and they're whatever. And he said, you need to shift that, because you your being will stop you from becoming that, right? If you're holding that as that's what you become when you're rich, then you're going to put up roadblocks, because you don't want to be that, right? So you had to shift the whole view. And I think what you're offering here is such a holistic and organic evolution of our own consciousness around money. And I love um I love this reality that money has a consciousness and wants to partner, right? Wants to co-create, wants to collaborate, wants to be part of wants to be the expression of the divine in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
How it just feels so healing.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people have said that when they look at it from that perspective, something shifts.
Yeah.
And they can see it as, oh, it's been wounded. Money's wounded. Money's been wounded as much. We've wounded money as much as our perception of money has wounded us. And
Yeah.
so when we look at it as, I don't know if you're familiar with Mikhail Small-Wright's work, and yeah, so she really talks about the idea that everything has a consciousness and an overarching deva.
Right.
So I really feel that the overarching deva of money, that image that I painted was this really divine being that's connected to divine source and lives in that place of love.
Yeah. And that quote that you had where it said, can you help me? Right. You said you kind of tear up when you read it.
All the time.
When you first told me that, I thought, oh, I also got kind of emotional about that. And the title of your book, Money Come Dance With Me. What a beautiful invitation to relationship that is co-creative and a source of blessing.
Mm-hmm.
A beautiful invitation.
And blessing, interesting. When I did a workshop one time on money at the dowsing convention, and afterwards I kept hearing blessing, blessing, blessing. I thought, well, that's really interesting. And I heard money thank me for the healing. And then later I met the person who was going to be our rabbi, who was a Kabbalistic rabbi. And in his book, he talks about blessings, and that when you bless anyone, it is if you're looking into their soul and you invite their potential to come forth. So then one of the things I realized is blessings is an activator. When you bless anything, you invite its potential to come forth. So if you send blessings to money, you're inviting its potential, its pure potential to come forth.
That's fantastic. And then as mystics, right? Assuming we're all mystics here.
We are all mystics. Hello.
All mystics, right? Then we're all
cool?
Yes, and we're all a source of blessing for the planet. I mean, what a beautiful path to walk.
Yeah.
In the awareness of that.
Right.
Right. Fantastic. So people are being very quiet. I don't know if
Did I overwhelm them or what?
I'm on YouTube. The comments are mostly just thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, what a beautiful shift. I really feel like there's been a shift. So Gale, you are amazing. That's
Thank you, Leah.
that's
She's,
really
she's so sweet.
yeah.
So if there's no other questions or comments,
Can you put up the slide for how to contact you one more time, and then we'll end it there.
okay. Hold on.
Success with and just say a little bit about your radio show.
Oh, I have a radio show on the oh my God. Okay, here we are. Just a second. Let me get back to being able to. Am I on here? I'll share the screen. For a radio show on the Transform Talk Radio, and it is called Cafe of Delights: Conversations that Enlighten and Inspire. And my idea is that to bring hope and sense of action. So the person I had today this morning is on second and fourth Thursday of the month on 10 a.m. Pacific, and I had Megan Wagner. And one of the things that we were talking about was what exactly is the age of Aquarius and what is happening right now as far as that when we see the chaos in the world, what does that tell us? And a lot, I really truly believe that it's the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. But as Money said, it's the end of the old paradigm of domination and greed and the new paradigm of collaboration and generosity. Whenever you have something dying and something emerging, there is always chaos.
Yeah.
And so when we put our energy on the chaos and go, oh my God, the world is going to hell in a handbasket, blah, 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 instead of really what is mine to do. One of the things she was talking about too was that we all chose to be here at this time, to be part of it. And I really truly believe all of you who are out there in the audience who are FMBR people or really are mystics. We chose to be here to raise the vibration of the planet and to hold that energy. So that's what it's really about, calling people in that are actively working at the edges of transformation and change.
That's fantastic. We remind ourselves that in our women's group, the FMBR women's group, it remind us of that practically every time, because as the world as things are crumbling, the old paradigm is crumbling, and we chose to be here because we can hold that new, right? We can hold that new paradigm of heart-based being, and that's our work.
Well, we got to work at it because, and what I say is you got to floss every day. You floss our teeth. We got to floss our energy. Hello. And clear the field, because this, fear is a huge, huge energy pattern that is, the minute we feel that, it's like there's all of these thought forms in the field that go, well, hello, fear. And then we feel even worse. So a lot of that's, I have to check how much of this is mine. Most of the time it's like 20 or 30%. A lot of it's not mine.
It's a collective, right?
Yeah, it's part of the collective. And just recognize that you've got to clear yourself every single day. You have to be really clear on keeping your mind, your soul, your being in that state of high vibration, because it's really easy to come on down.
Yeah. Pat wants to know if you have any suggestions for homework.
The first thing I have people do in my book, I have dance steps at the end of every at the end of every dance steps at the end of every chapter is to write a letter to Money and tell Money how you really feel about it, and then tell Money the kind of relationship you would like to have.
It's beautiful.
So that's a start.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here, Gale. This is transformative, really beautiful. Thank you very much for being here. Hope everyone has a great night, and we will see you next time.
And thank you so much for inviting me. And I thank Bunny for And the healing that we gave to the collective and to people for ourselves, and the healing we gave for money. Thank you.
Yeah.